Right. We had a party here yesterday. So I guess before we start talking about why we had a party and why I'm making this video, we have to clean up a little bit. Okay, so today, exactly 1 year ago, February 1st, 2019, we received the keys for this space. This space was completely empty exactly 1 year ago. I was standing right here in an empty space. And that's why I wanted to make this video today, because it's been exactly 1 year since we moved into this space. And I want this to be kind of an update of what's happened over the last year and kind of take you for a tour of what we turned this place into and all the things that have happened here in the last year. Wow. A lot of it I'm sure you've seen in different videos that I've made over the last year, but I wanted to make this video to kind of like give you the grand tour of the space. So why don't we start doing that? So one of the very first things we started building in this space when we moved in was this kitchen. We took a bunch of old windows, built some framing, and then built this big glass box basically. And the entire thing is elevated up from the floor so that we can have material storage underneath. We're still planning on finishing this a little bit nicer with some trim painted in the same color as the rest of the kitchen. But who knows, maybe for next year's update video. Let's have a look inside. And I believe I never showed you how this kitchen actually turned out in the end. So after your last video about the kitchen, we've sort of added small bits and pieces a little bit at the time, so it wasn't super easy to make a video about it. But nonetheless, we finished all the kitchen fronts, all the drawers, we've got a little fridge, dishwasher, and of course the most important thing, a coffee maker. And we've also hung a couple of nice lights. And this green material here is actually just water resistant MDF, and that just happens to be green. It looks pretty nice, but in case you're wondering, it doesn't like sunlight, as you can see by how faded it got from those windows. And of course the centerpiece of this room being this massive plant that we've got standing here, which does get a little dusty, but we love the thing. Okay, enough talk about the kitchen, let's move on to the workshop. And talking about the workshop, let's start at the big dust extractor that we built. That massive thing that we spent so much time building. But let me tell you, it is awesome. I love this thing. So it is actually running right now and the sound isn't bad at all. But what is seriously impressive is how well it separates out the dust. So we filled up this main bag about 4 times now. And this bag, which sits underneath the filter, still has almost no dust in it. And that's about half a year of use. So the cyclone and the filter and the entire system works really, really well. Oh, and a quick side note, a couple of people have been asking why I put the motor before the dust cyclone and the filter instead of putting it after the cyclone, which would mean that the motor wouldn't have to eat all the dust and debris. And that is for the reason that I want to have a plastic bag underneath the cyclone instead of having to have a rigid drum, which you would need to have if you had the motor after it, because then you would have a vacuum in the entire system. Luckily the motor that we got for our dust extractor is actually meant to handle debris running through it. That's why we could justify doing that. And yeah, as you can hear, the sound in here isn't bad at all. And yeah, that brings us back inside into the wood workshop. I'm usually only in here when we lunch or if I need to cut something on a table saw, and other than that, it's Simon and Lucian that run this side of the workshop. So everything else that you see in here is what they've built. And yeah, I'm super happy with the way this part of the space works out. The table saw, although it's small, works really well, and I'm super happy with the kitchen. So how about we head over to my side of the workshop? Wow, I feel like so much has happened in here over the last year. For me at least, sometimes it's easy to forget how much has actually happened over the period of time that we've been here, exactly 1 year. I mean, I'm in this space all the time, so I just get used to the way it looks, and I feel like making a video like this where we have a look back at what has actually happened over the last year is a good reminder of how much has actually happened. Like a year ago today, there was no wall. This was one big open room. And then a couple of weeks later, I started building a wall and I was standing right here and saying there was gonna be a wall here. By building a wall right here. And now we built the wall and we painted it. And we built wall panels that for some reason start yellowing over time. And then of course I keep forgetting that I actually painted all the walls, including the ceiling, and that we built these acoustic panels. And I'm used to how this place sounds now, but it is such a huge improvement over what it used to sound like. Like, listen to this. Good day everyone, and thank you so much for joining me on today's video. I am currently in my workshop, the space that we've been building out for the last several months. And isn't this just way better? Okay, let's continue the tour. I actually just remembered, and I'd completely forgotten about this. You see where the lighter spot on the floor is? That used to be a separate room. There used to be a wall here. And I'd totally forgotten that. I'm so happy we got rid of that. And I never want to have that much drywall dust in here ever again. And then of course we've got our big wall of plastic boxes. And yes, this is definitely inspired by Jamie's shop in Mythbusters. I wish I could have 20 times this, but for now this will have to do. This works really well. The only thing I'm not super happy about is the way I store small parts and all this mess I've got here, which I'm going to deal with in an upcoming video, and a very short little sneak peek is right there. Moving on to having a quick look at a couple of things that we built over the last year, starting with our big work table. I really love this thing. The tabletop is still completely flat and I use it every single day and it works great. I'm also super happy that I have all of these big drawers that I can store all my things in. I'm still working on organizing these, and as promised, I will make a video on all the organizational stuff in here once I figured out all of it. But yeah, that's a long process. And yes, if you also want to build a work table like this, I have all the drawings available for this table, and there will be a link down in the description below to where you can download those. Okay, moving on to the other woodworking project that I built for this workshop, that of course being the cabinet for the 3D printers back in the corner. What? You can see that printer just finished a print. It's a part of the drawer organizer stuff for the work table. And there's been a little bit of a change on the other side here. I now have a different printer on that side. I used to have a second Ultimaker and then a storage space for some filament on the side. And that's now gone. I just glued together both those doors to get one big one. And inside of here, we now have a new, bigger 3D printer. This is the Artillery Sidewinder X1. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I have to say, this thing is amazing. It's big, it's fairly inexpensive, and it works really, really well. So you should check it out. I'll leave a link down in the description to where I got it from. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but that's a vacuum forming machine. I haven't used it yet, but let me know if you have any cool ideas to what I could build with it. Okay, moving on. So how about we move on to having a quick look at the tools and machinery that are new in this workshop since we moved in. And the first big machine that I got after moving into the space was this here Lantane metalworking lathe. I got it for a pretty good price, and so far I'm really happy with it. It's not the most rigid, it's not the most precise, but for what I've been doing so far, it's been great. But it has feed both directions and can cut threads, and yeah, it's good fun to use. I was originally going to plan on making a restoration video about this, but I ended up just cleaning it a little bit and started using it. But maybe in the future I will do a bit more of a thorough tear down, clean up, and make sure that everything is in working order. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe let me know down in the comments. So on to the next big machine in my workshop. Well, actually the biggest one in my workshop, my Bridgeport milling machine. You might have seen the video I made about this where I tore it down and cleaned up the entire machine. It had so much old dirt and grease on it, you won't even believe it. But all in all, I'm very, very happy with this machine. I got super lucky in terms of how good of a condition it actually was in. Everything works on it. We've got the entire machine nice and clean. Right now it's actually still standing on the pallet that it came on, but more on that later. This was a really fun video to make, getting to work on big heavy machinery. I have to admit, cleaning all that grease might not have been my favorite thing in the world, but seeing it come together and actually work in the end really was super satisfying. I still have this dirty old vise on here that I got when I bought the machine, and as many of you have commented, I probably should do something about how this thing looks. So make sure to watch out for one of my future videos where I give this thing a once over and restore it to what it's meant to look like. Okay, let's have a look at the last big machine in the workshop. That, of course, being this Arboga drill press that we restored from... It wasn't too bad of a condition, but it was fairly rusty and it had a whole bunch of parts missing. The head is adjustable in height. The table is swiveling and adjustable in height. And all in all, I am really happy with the way this machine has turned out as well. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's one last big machine in my workshop, and that is, this is an Italian-made bandsaw, and this is awesome. I really like using the bandsaw. So I mentioned it in a previous video as well, but every time I get to use a new bandsaw, or every time I have a little bit of spare time in front of a bandsaw, I always try to make one of these. This is the deer from my wooden bandsaw animals video. If you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. You can download the files for this deer and a couple more animals. And this machine is what inspired me to make that video. So really happy with this machine, and I'm sure I'll have this for many more years to come. And yeah, that brings us back here. That was kind of a quick little tour of the space and what has happened over the last year in this space, kind of the new tools and machinery that we have here, the things that we built, at least some of them. And there's still a lot of things I want to do in this space. As a matter of fact, in one of the upcoming videos very soon, I want to reorganize the entire workshop. Because as you might have seen, right now the bandsaw is the closest tool to where I sit and edit, which is a terrible idea because the bandsaw is the tool that makes the most amount of dust. It's also fairly close to the metalworking tools, which also is a terrible idea. So I want to relocate all the heavy machinery, moving all the metalworking tools together in one corner. I'm thinking the corner over there where right now is just a big messy pile of wood that I don't really know what I'll do with yet, but we'll figure something cool out. And then I want to move the bandsaw to where the lathe is and maybe build like a more dedicated, cool office solution where I have the computer right now. But anyways, we can talk more about that in a future video. As for now, I just want to say thank you so much for all of you that have been watching my videos over the last year and even before that. Thank you so much for everyone that has subscribed to my channel, and welcome to the people that are new here. Normally I make things in my videos like many of the things that you've seen in this workshop tour today. And yeah, thank you to everyone who has watched my videos, liked them, commented, shared them with friends. It's all really motivating and it makes me super happy when I see that people like what I make. So make sure to hit that like button if you like the video. It actually makes a huge difference if you do. Click subscribe if you're not yet. And I see you guys in the next video where I'll actually be making something again. As for now, thank you so much for joining me in this workshop tour. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.